Leo. They thought they could walk away from you and remain unchanged. But something followed them after the separation. Something quiet. Something unresolved. And now, after all this silence, they're coming back different. You've felt it already, haven't you? That strange shift in your energy lately. The sudden memories. The dreams that feel too real. The moments where their presence enters your mind so suddenly it almost feels placed there by something outside of you. You try to ignore it. You tell yourself it means nothing. But deep down, your intuition already knows. Something is moving again. And what scares you most is that their energy no longer feels the same. It feels softer now, heavier, almost haunted. Like life finally forced them to sit alone with every emotion they spent months trying to avoid. Because Leo, they did avoid it. The connection, the feelings, the truth. Maybe they disappeared physically. Maybe emotionally. Maybe they stayed close to your life while becoming impossible to reach emotionally. But you remember exactly when everything started changing. The delayed replies. The colder tone. The invisible distance growing between conversations. You felt it before they ever admitted it. That's the thing about you, Leo. People think your strength makes you emotionally untouchable. But your intuition notices everything. The silence between words. The energy behind eye contact. The moment someone emotionally leaves before they physically disappear. And when this person pulled away, your soul felt it immediately. Still, you waited. Part of you believed they would come back and explain everything. That one day they would finally tell you why the connection suddenly became so confusing. Why they stopped reaching for you the same way. Why you started feeling alone even while they were still there. But the explanation never came. Only silence. Cold, confusing silence. And eventually, you stopped asking questions out loud. You carried them quietly instead. At night, in empty rooms. While staring at your phone longer than usual. Even when no notification appeared. That silence changed you more than people realize. Because there came a moment where your heart simply became exhausted. Exhausted from trying to understand mixed signals. Exhausted from pretending you didn't feel everything so deeply. Exhausted from hoping someone emotionally unavailable would suddenly become emotionally honest. And slowly, you started disappearing too. Not physically, emotionally. You learned how to smile while detaching inside. You learned how to protect your energy without explaining yourself. You learned how to stop chasing people who kept making love feel uncertain. That wasn't weakness. That was survival. Because somewhere during 2025, something inside you broke. Not loudly, quietly, like a light slowly dimming inside a room nobody noticed was getting darker. And the terrifying part is, even after all of that, you never fully released them. You tried. God knows you tried. You focused on healing, on becoming stronger, on rebuilding your peace. You convinced yourself the story had ended. But every time your life became quiet, their energy returned. Not aggressively, not constantly, but subtly. Like footsteps echoing through a closed hallway late at night. A song, a memory, a dream that felt too emotionally real to ignore. And now, something feels different. Because this person is thinking about you again, constantly, more than you realize. At first they tried distracting themselves. Pride helped them survive the separation in the beginning. So did ego. Temporary attention, control, pretending they didn't care as deeply as they actually did. But time has a brutal way of exposing emotional truth, especially when someone loses a connection they secretly believed would always remain available. And Leo, your absence changed them more than your presence ever could. That's the truth they can no longer escape. When you stopped reaching for them emotionally, they felt it. When your energy became quieter, they noticed. When your warmth stopped waiting for them, something inside them started panicking. Because suddenly, they could feel you slipping away. Not dramatically, silently. And silence terrifies people who thought they had more time. Now they replay old conversations in their mind. Now they reread messages they once ignored. Now they wonder whether someone else has already replaced them emotionally. And for the first time, they are afraid. Not just afraid of rejection. Afraid they waited too long. Afraid your heart no longer opens the same way it once did for them. And strangely, they're right. Because you changed too. You no longer romanticize emotional inconsistency. You no longer beg for clarity. You no longer sacrifice your peace trying to hold unstable connections together. There's a different energy around you now, calmer, wiser, harder to manipulate emotionally. You still love deeply, but now your intuition speaks louder than your loneliness. And that changes everything, because your soul still recognizes them, while your nervous system remembers the pain. That is the conflict exhausting you lately. One part of you feels the connection stronger than ever. The other part remembers exactly how deeply the silence hurt. That's why your emotions have become unpredictable recently. Some nights you feel completely detached. Other nights, their energy feels so close it almost steals your breath. You may notice yourself checking your phone for no reason, waking up from dreams that leave your chest heavy, feeling emotional at random moments that make no logical sense. The room stays quiet, but your mind refuses to be. And deep down, you already know this isn't coincidence, because energetic shifts always reach you before physical reality does. That's why your intuition has been restless lately. Something is approaching, slowly, carefully, almost fearfully, because the version of them returning toward you now is not the same person who walked away. Life changed them. Pain changed them. Loneliness changed them. There were nights where distractions stopped working. Moments where your absence became emotionally louder than everything around them. Moments where they finally realized what they lost. Not just attention. Not comfort. Your energy. Your emotional depth. The way you understood parts of them nobody else ever reached. And once that realization begins, a person cannot fully escape it anymore. That's why their energy feels different now, softer, more emotional, less certain of themselves, almost haunted by regret. Because somewhere deep inside, they know they hurt you. They know there were nights you questioned your worth because of their emotional distance. They know they created confusion where there should have been honesty. And now, they don't know whether they still deserve access to your heart. That fear is changing them. You can feel it, even from a distance. Because this connection was never truly superficial. It carried emotional recognition. The kind that changes people permanently. The kind people try to replace. And fail. That's why they keep comparing everyone to you now. The conversations feel emptier. The chemistry feels forced. The emotional depth is missing. And slowly, their pride is collapsing under the weight of realization. Because no matter how far they tried to run from this connection, your absence followed them. In quiet apartments, in late-night thoughts, in moments where life suddenly felt emotionally numb. And now, after all this time, they are starting to understand what losing you actually meant. But Leo, this story goes deeper than simple heartbreak. Because the separation changed you too. You became someone stronger during the silence. Someone more emotionally aware. Someone who stopped confusing pain with love. And that transformation is exactly why they're being pulled back toward you now. People feel when your energy changes, especially someone who once held emotional power over your heart. They can feel your detachment, your independence, your silence, and it unsettles them. Because for the first time, they can no longer predict you. That mystery is haunting them now. They wonder if you still think about them, if you still feel the connection, if you moved on completely. And what nobody realizes yet is that this connection never fully ended emotionally for either of you. It only went silent. But silence is not the same thing as closure. Sometimes silence is just two people standing on opposite sides of the same pain, waiting for someone to finally tell the truth. And Leo, the truth is getting harder for them to hide now. Because 2026 is not bringing superficial love into your life. It's bringing emotional reckoning. Emotional rebirth. The kind that destroys illusions before rebuilding connection honestly. That's why everything feels so intense lately. Your dreams. Your intuition. The sudden emotional waves. The feeling that someone is thinking about you at the exact moment you think about them. Something is pulling this connection back to the surface. Not randomly. Not casually. Almost like timing itself has decided the silence cannot continue much longer. And somewhere tonight, while you try to distract yourself from these emotions, they are thinking about you too, wondering whether destiny is giving them one final chance. or whether they already lost you forever.